this type A and the other one type B?
Because it has a O, like A and a O.
Oh, I know the A. The A produces what is it? Not enzymes, but something that attacks B.
So the A red blood cells are going to have A antigens on them.
Antigens.
All right, and so there are two different antigens. There are A and B antigens. So these cells are labeled or given the names based on which antigens they have on the surface of their cells. All right, so remember there are A and B antigens. There's also the positive, which we'll get to in a second. All right, so the A, which antigen do you think it has?
B.
It has the A antigen, all right? But if it only has the A antigen, that means it doesn't have the B, all right? So it actually produces anti-B antibodies, all right? So A is going to have the A antigen, all right? The A antigen, and it's going to have anti-B antibodies, all right? So if you were to give someone who is type A, type B blood, you would have some reaction because it has these anti-B antibodies.
Yeah, you could kill someone.
All right, so what about type B? What antigen does type B have?
B.
Right, so that has B. And then what about the antibodies?
Anti-A
It
bodies.
has anti-A. All right, how about O? What antigens does that have?
None.
It has no antigen, so it doesn't have A or B. All
So-
right, and what antibodies does
Both.
that have then? It would have anti-A and B. All right, and what about AB? What antigens does that have?
None.
This has both of them, right? A
Oh, I'm
and
drunk.
B. And what antibodies would that have then?
Didn't have none, right?
Right, it would have no antibodies against A or B. All right, so knowing this information, which one of these, without plus or minus, would be the universal receiver of blood? So which one of these could receive blood from any other type?
AB.
AB, all right? So this is going to be the universal receiver.
And O is the universal donor.
Right, and this is the universal donor. All right, so why would this be the universal donor?
Because it doesn't
You
have
can
the
give it to
receptor.
all of them.
Right, there are no antigens on it, so all these other blood types are not going to react to it. All right? All right, so getting into the other antigen is the RH factor is what it's called, so that's the positive or negative. All right, if you have a positive blood type, you do have the RH antigen. If you're negative, you don't have that. All right, so again, it's similar to these, all right? If you're A positive, it means you have the A antigen and you have the RH, for example. All right, if you are B negative, you have the B antigen, but you don't have RH. You have anti-A and anti-RH. The RH works a little bit differently than the normal blood type antigens. So you can actually give someone who is negative blood type positive blood. You can do that once, and they'll start developing these anti-RH antibodies. And the second time they receive the wrong blood type, that's when you have a really large reaction. So unlike the blood type specific antigens like A or B, this RH has one sort of shot of wiggle room. All right. So again, if you give someone, for example, if someone is B negative blood and you give them B positive, the first time they do it, not much of a reaction is going to happen, but what their body will be doing is developing these anti-RH antibodies. So next time they receive the negative antibody from any wrong blood type, that's when they're going to have a large reaction. All right. Lastly, before you guys go, do you guys remember Punnett squares from Intro to Bio or anything like that? So those are coming back here. So for example, I could ask you questions. Is it positive for a type A father to have a type O kid? Or is it possible for, I'll do type A father and type B mother, all right? Is it possible for them to have a type O child?
Yeah.
Yes, so why is that? So if I ask you to explain why or show your work on the exam, it means draw one of these bad boys, all right? So type A, all right, so you know one is type A, the other one's type B. However, what about these two?
O.
So they don't have to be O, all right? This type A could be double A, type B could be double B. All right. If that were the case, could you produce an O child, type O child? No. All right. So O, in the case of blood typing, is going to be recessive.
Really? That's fire.
All right. So if they both had the O allele as well, all right. If you do the Punnett square, this right here is the potential for having a type O child. All right, does that make sense for everyone? It's pretty simple. All right, so if I ask you any scenarios, I could ask you, is it possible for a type AB child to have a type A father, B mother? Any combination like that, you should be able to answer that with Punnett squares. All right.
So every recessive would be O. Or-
Right, so O technically isn't recessive, but we treat it that way because it doesn't produce any antigens. So even if O is with A, their blood type is still going to have the A antigens. But this is technically recessive the way that we're treating it. So if you think about it like that, everything will work out fine when you're doing the Punnett squares. Another thing I could ask is I could say list all of the genotypes of the potential offspring of a type A father who mates with a type B mother. All right, so that you'd have to draw multiple Punnett squares and list all the different genotypes. All right, so when I say genotypes, all right, I mean these right here. So if you do multiple Punnett squares, you don't have to tell me the fraction of the percentage of chance. All right, you just need to tell me each unique genotype. So in this case, there would be 4 genotypes. All right, so see how each one of these is a unique one. All right, let's see. If we did a Punnett square where you had, I'll draw a small one over here. All right, so this was your Punnett square. If you had 2 AOs and 2 BOs, if I asked you to list the genotypes of the potential children, you would just say AO and BO are the potential genotypes. Does that make sense? All right, so as long as this makes sense, you should do fine on the Punnett square part of the exam if I ask you one of those. But just make sure you know especially what's going on with the antigens and the antibodies that each blood type has. All right, and then one last thing before you guys go. All right, does anyone have any idea when this could also be an issue aside from blood transfusions? Anyone think of any examples? So this is after we're talking about Punnett squares between parents and offspring, all right? So you can see how the offspring can have different blood types than the parents, right?
Right.
All right, so what happens if the offspring somehow inherits a positive Rh factor, but the mother has a negative?
Oh, like for childbirth or something?
Right. So in pregnancy, it's more common than not that, I mean, it's not super common, but you see it more than you would think, is that the mothers can have Rh minus, which means they do not have the Rh factor antigen, but due to genetics, they could get the Rh plus from their father. All right, and so there's some sort of incompatibility between blood types between the mom and the child. But like we said earlier with this, remember how you can have one bad blood transfusion before the next one is a really bad reaction. So in these cases with Rh, the first time a mother has a child, if the mother is negative and the child is positive, usually it goes just fine. But the second time the mother has a positive child, that's when you should be concerned. So usually you'll run blood tests before or during the pregnancy to establish that. And if this is the cause, or if this is what's going on, usually they get sort of this specialized shot that helps boost the immune system of the mom and the child. All right, so the one thing to take home from this Rh factor is not only that you could have positive or negative and how to treat that, but also that the very first time they mix positive and negative, there's not much of a reaction because, again, you're producing antibodies for it. So make sure you specifically understand, with that respect, the pregnancy case. Yep.
So is that only within a certain amount of time, or is that for your entire lifetime?
So after the first one, it's your entire lifetime. So once you produce antibodies, you will have them the rest of your life.
The mother,
Yeah.
so basically